Isang tren sa India na diskaril.
Alamin po natin ang kinahinatnan ng mga pasahero mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Lunes.
Ayon sa PHIVOLCS, posibleng higit 50,000 ang posibleng death toll kapag tumama ang The Big One.
45 pesos kada kilo ang maximum suggested retail price sa imported na bigas sa mga pamilihan. Umarangkada na.
Bilang ng mga nasawi sa lindol ng yumanig sa Myanmar at Thailand, lumobo na sa higit 1,700.
Pangulong Donald Trump nagalit kay Russian President Vladimir Putin dahil sa hindi pagtugon sa ceasefire deal.
At mahigit 300,000 na tirahan sa Canada na wala ng kuryente dahil sa ice storm. Posible pong umabot sa higit 50,000 katao ang masasawi at halos 12% ng mga residential buildings ang mapipinsala kapag tumama ang The Big One, isang magnitude 7.2 na lindol sa National Capital Region.
Ito ang nakikitang senaryo ng PHIVOLCS matapos ang malakas na lindol na yumanig sa Myanmar, Thailand nitong Biyernes. Batay na rin sa mga historical records na kanilang pinag-aralan, inaasahan kasi ng ahensya na ang West Valley Fault kasama ang silangang parte ng Metro Manila ay maaaring tamaan ng malakas na lindol. Paliwanag ng PHIVOLCS, makararanas ng intensity 8 ang Metro Manila kung saan nasa 51,500 individuals ang maaaring mamatay sa The Big One, habang higit na sa 100,000 naman ang inaasahang sugatan sa kalamidad. Samantala, mas malakas na pagyanig ng lupa naman ang mararanasan sa mga karatig na lugar nito katulad ng Gabaldon, Nueva Ecija kung saan inaasahang tatamaan ito ng magnitude 7.9 na lindol. Makakaapekto naman ang Philippine Trench sa Eastern Samar na maaaring pagmula ng 8 o hanggang 9 na metrong taas ng tsunami. Anila, posibleng mag-generate ang Philippine Trench ng lindol na may lakas na magnitude 8.2. Noong taong 1976, nang tinamaan ng Pilipinas ng malakas na tsunami na ikinasawi ng higit sa 8,000 individual sa Cotabato matapos ang pagtama ng malakas na magnitude 8.1 na lindol.
Binigyan diin po ng Embahada ng Pilipinas sa Bangkok na fake news o hindi totoo ang balitang may 10 Pilipino ang nasawi sa malakas na paglindol na tumama at yumanig sa Thailand at Myanmar. Giit ng Embahada, wala pa silang natatanggap na ulat na may Filipino national na nasaktan mula sa trahedya. Subalit, bantay sarado ang Embahada sa sitwasyon ng mga Pilipino na maaaring maapektuhan ng lindol. Anila nakahanda silang mag-abot ng immediate assistance sa mga ito kung kinakailangan. Kaya payo ng Embahada sa mga Pilipinong nasa Thailand, palagi ang mag-monitor ng mga updates sa mga verified sources of information at iwasan ang pagpapakalat ng mga unverified news. Ayon naman kay Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega, nasa 611 ang mga nakarehistrong Pilipino sa Myanmar habang nasa 29,000 naman ang mga nananatili sa Thailand. Samantala, naka-standby ang 3 Philippine Emergency Medical Assistance Teams para sa deployment.
Inaamin ng Presidential Communications Office o PCO na nahihirapan ang administrasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na abutin ang target nitong 1 milyong housing units kada taon.
Wala pa po siyang milyon.
Sa ni PCO Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro ang mga dahilan kung bakit mabibigo ang gobyerno na tuparin ang pangako nito noon.
Wala pa po siyang milyon. Okay, sinabi naman po ng ating Pangulo na ito po yung salita niya, and I quote, "We are aiming for 1 million homes, 1 million low-cost and socialized homes a year. It is an ambitious number, but we will try very, very hard." So may mga pagkakataon po, gustuin po natin na matapos ang lahat, pero may mga causes of delays. Katulad po ng processing and release of development loans for private contractors, permitting or due diligence process on site suitability and land ownership. Meron din po, nagkakaroon din po ng problema or issue tungkol sa pagpapatayo because it seems that there is longer construction period for vertical housing, at least 10 months average for walk-up. 4-story buildings pa lang po yun. At yung pong capacity to borrow or avail of the development loan of private contractors. At ito po'y ibibigay na napakamura po sa ating mga kababayan. Kaya po, kokonti lamang po ng mga contractors at developers ang sumasali sa proyektong ito. So ito po ay mga issues na hindi po ninanais ng administrasyon.
Gayunpaman ay tiniyak ni Castro na tuloy-tuloy ang mga proyektong pabahay ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Sa kasalukuyan anya ay may 90 projects nationwide habang nasa 82 projects naman ang nasa pre-production phase. Bukod pa rin ito ang 436 additional proposals na naghihintay ng approval.
As of this time, ayon po sa report ng DSUD, meron po tayong 90 ongoing projects nationwide in various stages of development and construction. Ang ilan po dito ay nabuo na po, nagawa na po, at ito'y mag-generate ng total of 259,365 housing units. Meron din pong 82 projects currently in pre-production stage at mayroong 436 pending proposals. At least 8,000 housing units for turnover this year. At meron pa po tayong binanggit sa Davao City noong nakaraan at saka sa San Juan. At meron din po sa Palayan City, Nueva Ecija, City of San Fernando, Pampanga, at Bacolod City, Tagoloan, Misamis Oriental. At meron pa pong darating sa Apuab, San Mateo Rizal at Bukawe, Bulacan.
Ngunit sinabi ni Aring Lot Feca, isa sa mga organizers ng women organization na Oryang na nakabase sa Quezon City, problema ang lokasyon ng mga pabahay ng Administrasyong Marcos. Nasa malalayong probinsya anya ang mga pabahay at mahal rin ang presyo ng housing units. Kailangan din daw ay maging miyembro ng pag-ibig ang mga beneficiaries ng mga nasabing pabahay. Taliwas ito sa pahayag ni Castro na makakukuha ng taong bayan ng mga housing units sa pinakamurang o napakamurang presyo.
Ngayon patuloy pa rin po nire-relocate sa mga probinsya. Hindi pa rin po kami nakakaranas na mapapunta sila dun sa sinasabing pabahay na 4PH. At unang-una po yung iba po wala pong pag-ibig. Lalo na mga vendors po. Ang nakakalungkot po, mahal po ang pabahay ng gobyerno. Kaya sad po kami na hindi talaga napupunta sa mga maralita ang pabahay na yon. Kasi puro bola po eh. Yung bigas po ang pinakamababa, lalo na sa lugar namin, 40 pesos na. O kalahati lang pong kilo yung 20. Paano pa kaya po yung pabahay na yan na libo-libo ang bayad po nun? Kaya nakakahinayang po na yung pondo ay masasayang at hindi magagawa yung talagang tamang pabahay para sa mga maralita.
Maliit po kasi ang presyo na ibibigay natin sa taong bayan para i-avail ito. Kaya po, yung ibang contractors po ay hindi po sumasang-ayon na makisali or sumama sa ganitong klaseng proyekto. Konti lamang po na developer.
Nakaharap na naman sa panibagong legal challenge ang 2025 national budget matapos isumite ng isang grupo ang ikatlong petisyon sa Korte Suprema na humihiling na ideklarang void ang 6.352 trillion pesos na pambansang budget. Ayon sa mga petitioners, dapat ideklarang walang bisa ang Republic Act 12116 o ang 2025 General Appropriations Act o GAA dahil labag umano ito sa Section 5, Paragraph 5 ng Article 14 ng Konstitusyon. Nakasaad nila sa nasabing batas na dapat mag-ukol ang Estado ng pinakamataas na alokasyon sa pagbabudget sa edukasyon. Subalit, hindi nila ito nasunod at sa halip ay creative budgeting umano ang nangyayari para palabasin na malaki ang pondo ng edukasyon. Kinukwestiyon din ng mga petitioners ang 1.05 trilyon na alokasyon sa Department of Public Works and Highways na mas mataas pa nila sa pinagsamang budgets para sa education-related agencies na nasa 913.3 billion lamang. Bukod sa writ of certiorari ay hiniling din ng mga petitioners na mag-issue ang Korte Suprema ng temporary restraining order para pigilan ng mga respondents sa pagpapatupad ng GAA. Matatandaang noong Enero ay naghain sina dating Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez, Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungab at iba pa ng unang petisyon para kwestiyonin ang umano'y blankong item sa Bicameral Conference Committee report. Inihain naman kamakailan ang ikalawang petisyon laban sa national budget na naglalayong ipadeklarang unconstitutional ang ilang probisyon nito o kagaya ng mababang budget sa education sector. Zero subsidy sa PhilHealth at ayuda sa kapos ang KITA program. Pinasalamatan naman ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan para sa pagkakaloob nito ng clemency sa 115 Filipino convicts. Ipinamalita ito ng Embassy ng UAE sa Maynila sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng Department of Foreign Affairs Office of the Middle East and African Affairs. Ayon sa Pangulo ay pagkakalooban ng royal pardon ay makapagdadala ng pag-asa sa mga pamilya ng mga convicts at isang anyaring gesture of compassion ito sa bansa mula sa umiiral na matibay na ugnayan ng UAE sa Pilipinas.
Umarangkada ng 45 pesos kada kilo ang maximum suggested retail price sa imported na bigas sa mga pamilihan ngayong araw. Kaya bilang pagsisiguro na umiiral ito sa mga pamilihan ay mag-iikot ang mga tauhan ng Department of Agriculture o DA kasama ang Department of Trade and Industry o DTI sa mga palengke sa Quezon City. Noong Enero 20, unang ipinatupad ang maximum SRP sa imported na bigas sa halagang 58 pesos kada kilo. Saka sinundan ito ng 55 pesos kada kilo noong February 5, 52 pesos per kilo naman noong February 15 at 49 pesos per kilo noong unang araw ng Marso. Matatandaang nagpatupad ng maximum SRP si Agriculture Secretary Chu Laurel Jr. dahil sa bigong mapababa ng Executive Order 62 ang retail price ng bigas. Ang EO 62 ay nagtatakda ng pagbawas ng taripa ng mga imported na bigas sa Pilipinas patungong 15% mula sa dating 35%.
Muli naman pong mapapakamot ng ulo ang mga motorista dahil sa pisong dagdag presyo sa mga produktong petrolyo. Bukas-bukas April 1 ay magpapatupad ang mga oil industry firms ng 1.40 na taas sa presyo ng kada litro ng gasolina, habang 1.20 naman ang hike sa presyo ng kada litro ng diesel at kerosene. Una nang sinabi ng Department of Energy na may ambag sa paggalaw sa presyuhan ng langis ang pag-atake ng Russia at Ukraine sa energy installations ng isa't isa. Gayon din ang pagpapataw ng mataas na taripa ng Amerika sa mga produktong papasok sa Estados Unidos.
Susunod, bilang ng mga nasawi sa Myanmar Thailand quake umakyat na sa 1,700. China, dama rin ang yanig.
Trump galit kay Putin dahil hindi umano tumugon sa ceasefire.
At Greenland pumalag sa pangaangkin ng Estados Unidos. Mga balitang yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by BioQuick, high-quality products for hospitals and labs with 19 years of
sa higit 1,700 individual ang nasawi matapos tumama ang malakas na magnitude 7.7 na lindol sa Myanmar. Ayon sa Myanmar Fire Service, higit sa 30 na ang nasagip nila mula sa pagkakaipit sa mga debris. Nagpadala naman ang mga rescue teams ang international community, kabilang ang mga bansang China, India, Malaysia, Pilipinas, Vietnam, Indonesia, Ireland, South Korea, Russia, New Zealand at Estados Unidos. Nangako naman si UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy ng 10 million pounds worth in disaster aid para tulungan ang mga biktima ng lindol doon. Sa bahagi ng Thailand, nasa 18 katao ang nakumpirma ng mga otoridad na namatay sa trahedya, habang 76 na construction workers sa gumuhong high-rise building sa Bangkok ang nawawala pa rin hanggang ngayon. Samantala, nadama rin sa China ang malakas na lindol na tumama sa Myanmar. Ayon sa Chinese state broadcaster, 2 individual ang nasaktan sa syudad ng Ruilia sa Yunnan province. Inabisuhan naman ng mga otoridad ang publiko roon na maging handa sa mga aftershocks.
Naihatid na ng World Health Organization o WHO ang halos 3 toneladang medical supplies, kabilang po ang trauma kits at multipurpose tents sa NET25 at Mandalay upang tugunan ang pangangailangan ng libu-libong apektado na malalakas na lindol sa Myanmar. Ang mga supply ay kaagad na naihatid mula sa emergency stockpile sa Yangon sa loob ng 24 oras matapos ang mga lindol na may lakas ng 7.7 at 6.4 magnitude. Patuloy ang rescue operation, subalit ang mga ospital ay lubhang nabibigatan dahil sa dami ng mga nasugatan na nangangailangan ng agarang medical care. Plano ng WHO na magpadala ng ikalawang batch ng interagency emergency health kits na may kakayahang gamutin ang 10,000 na katao sa loob ng 3 buwan. Ang WHO ay kasalukuyang nagbibigay ng suporta sa operational response teams ng mga ospital at magsasagawa rin ng rapid needs assessment upang mas maunawaan ang mga pangangailangan at kakulangan sa mga apektadong lugar. Dahil sa lawak ng pinsala, patuloy na nagiging hamon ang natugunan ang pangangailangan sa pangangalagang pangkalusugan sa Myanmar na dati nang humaharap sa humanitarian health crisis.
Nakiisa ang mga Pilipino sa United Kingdom ng Global Filipino Solidarity Rally na nananawagang makauwi na si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Mula sa United Kingdom, si Sara Alcantara para sa balita.
Tuloy-tuloy ang mga isinasagawang Bring PRRD Home Peace Rally sa iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas, maging sa ibang bansa upang ipahayag ang kanilang pakikisa at panawagan sa International Criminal Court o ICC na ibalik na sa Pilipinas ang dating Pangulo. Kasalukuyang nakadetain si Duterte sa The Hague, Netherlands habang nililitis ang kanyang kasong crimes against humanity dahil umano sa war on drugs ng kanyang administrasyon noon. Duterte! Nandirito ako ngayon sa Marble Arch, London kung saan bit-bit ng mga nakiisa sa rally ang watawat ng Pilipinas, t-shirt na nagsasaad ng mga katagang I stand for PRRD at baller na may nakalagay na UKDDS at Duterte. Tinanong din natin ang ilan sa ating mga kababayan na lumahok sa Peace Rally kung ano ang kanilang opinyon ukol sa pagkakaaresto ng dating Pangulo.
Naniniwala po kami na illegal yung pagkaaresto kay Tatay Digong at kami po ay nakikisimpatya sa kanya dahil sa aming paniniwala. Marami siyang naitulong sa ating bayan at yun po ang aming paniniwala. Well, sa pagtitipon-tipon namin dito, makikita ang pagkakaisa ng bawat Pilipino na naniniwala sa kanya at sa pinaggagawa niya noong siya po ay dating presidente.
All of his deeds and achievement in the Philippines, from war on drugs, that was the successful that I've known. War on drugs. I've known many drug addicts and become pusher. And then when he became president, they changed his lives. Not only the lives and the lives of the family. I know personally. He's been in jail, came out clean until now. I'm not a lawyer, but on my opinion, is really kidnapping. Kidnapping, no due process. From the airport, they took him to the Biyernes Air Base and flew to Netherlands. There's no justice. There's no due process. It's a kidnapping.
So again, I know the Duterte family have said themselves that they don't really want people to comment on the ICC and the process. So all we're showing is a message of solidarity. You know, we're thinking about President Duterte at this time. We're thinking about the family, you know, Madam Vice President Sara Duterte, sending our best wishes, sending our love, and telling them that we're praying on a daily basis for the former president, that everything goes well. Again, this is not a protest. This is a gathering of supporters of the former president. We're celebrating the occasion of his 80th birthday. Since the time of former President Duterte's arrest, I'm not against the government, but what I am unhappy about is the way this has all happened. It just seemed to be far too easy that he was brought to The Hague. You know, I understand there was an Interpol notice, I understand that, but I just feel that things could have been done better. The former president could have been allowed time to spend in Davao, to go through legal challenges, to go through courts in the Philippines. If you go back to when people were saying, you know, the Philippines is a sovereign country, you know, with its own jurisdiction, etc., why not go through the Philippine courts first before being brought to the ICC?
Bagamat maraming tao ay maayos at mapayapang naidaos ang rally. Maayos at ligtas din ang seguridad ng bawat isa dahil sumunod sa kaayusan ang mga dumalo sa nasabing rally. Sara Alcantara, London Bureau, para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Isang luxury Urus Senate limousine na sinasabing bahagi ng official motorcade ni President Vladimir Putin ang sumabog at nasunog malapit sa headquarters ng Federal Security Service sa Moscow. Dahil sa insidenteng ito ay nakuhanan sa isang viral na video, usap-usapan na posibleng ito ang tangkang pagpatay kay Putin kasabay ng mga pag-uusap na sinusuportahan ng Estados Unidos upang wakasan ang digmaan ng Russia sa Ukraine. Makikita sa video mga bystanders na nagtutulungan upang apulahin ang apoy na sinasabing nagsimula sa engine bay bago kumalat sa loob ng sasakyan. Gayunpaman, walang naiulat na nasugatan at hindi pa tiyak kung sino ang nasa loob ng sasakyan nang mangyari ang insidente. Habang may mga ulat na nag-uugnay sa pangyayari sa patuloy na tensyon kaugnay ng digmaan ng Russia sa Ukraine, wala pang opisyal na kumpirmasyon kung ito ay isang pag-atake. Kamakailan lamang ngayong linggo, bumisita si Putin sa Murmansk, ang pinakamalaking lungsod sa north of Arctic Circle, kung saan ipinangako niya na paiigtingin ang pamumuno ng Russia sa rehiyon.
Hindi naman po maitago ni US President Donald Trump ang kanyang pagkainis kay Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ito ay matapos na hindi tumugon ang Russia sa isinusulong ng US na ceasefire deal nila ng Ukraine. Sa halip ay nagpapatuloy pa rin ang Russia sa pag-atake ng ibang teritoryo ng Kyiv bilang bahagi ng pananakop nila sa ibang importanteng bahagi ng bansa. Giit pa ni Trump na kapag hindi maisakatuparan ng ceasefire deal ay mapipilitan itong magpatupad ng bagong parusa sa bansa.
I don't think he's going to go back on his word. You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time. We've always gotten along well. I think he'll be okay. But if he isn't, I was disappointed in a certain way. Some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that. But I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them.
Magugunitang tinawagan ni Trump sina Putin at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky para isakatuparan ng ceasefire deal. Noong nakaraang linggo ay nagkasundo ang dalawa na itigil muna ang pag-atake sa dumaraang barko sa Black Sea. Sa iilang okasyon na rin, sinabi ni Putin na sumasangayon siya sa ceasefire, subalit ang hindi consistent ay ang galaw ng European Union na nagsisilbing balakid sa pagsulong ito.
С Европой, кстати, готовы работать. Просто они ведут себя непоследовательно, постоянно пытаются нас водить за нос. Но ничего, мы уже к этому привыкли. Надеюсь, тоже никаких ошибок основанных на доверии излишнем к нашим так называемым партнерам, мы допускать не будем. Вновь избранный президент Соединенных Штатов искренне хочет завершения этого конфликта. По целому ряду соображений, сейчас не буду даже, их много, но, на мой взгляд, это искреннее желание.
Kamakailan ay iminungkahi ni Russian President Vladimir Putin na ilagay ang Ukraine sa isang pansamantalang administrasyon para makapagsagawa ito ng bagong eleksyon. Ngunit sinabi ni United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres may lehitimong gobyerno ang Ukraine at dapat respetuhin ito. Si NJ de Guzman para sa detalye.
Noong Biyernes nang tanungin si UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres kung ano ang masasabi nito sa suwestyon ni Russian President Vladimir Putin na magkaroon ng pansamantalang administrasyon ang Ukraine sa ilalim ng UN at iba pa. Narito ang kanyang reaksyon.
First of all, the Ukraine has a legitimate government, and so obviously that must be respected. Second, we have had some contacts with the US. Rebecca Greenspan has had some contacts, but the UN for the moment is not part of the negotiation.
Samantala, noong Biyernes, sinabi naman ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky na hindi ito usapin kung anong bansa ang lehitimo o hindi. Anya, humahanap lang ng dahilan si Putin upang patagalin ang labanan.
Путін це робить по іншій причині. Питання не в тому, хто легітимний, на його думку, хто нелегітимний. Він знаходить постійно ту чи іншу причину, щоб не закінчувати війну. Він боїться перемовин з Україною, він боїться перемовин зі мною особисто.
Kaugnay naman ang kasunduan ukol sa mga mineral ng Ukraine, sinabi ni Zelensky na magkaiba ang bagong mungkahing draft minerals deal ng Estados Unidos mula sa naunang balangkas nito. Ayon kay Zelensky, kakailanganing suriin muna ito ng mga abogado ng Kyiv.
Це зовсім інший документ. Там багато всього, про що не йшлося. А також з'явились деякі речі, які, ну, скажімо так, раніше сторони відкидували вже. Так? І тому цей документ, я не хочу, ви знаєте, так, піднімати нову хвилю, тому що я дуже хочу, щоб ми отримали конкретну рецензію юристів на найвищому рівні.
Dagdag ni Zelensky, hindi tatanggapin ng Ukraine ang anumang kasunduan na banta sa pagsali nito sa European Union.
Що ж може загрожувати вступу України до Європейського Союзу, не може бути сприйнято.
Ayon pa sa Pangulo ng Ukraine, hindi nito kikilalanin ang nakaraang US military aid bilang utang na kailangang bayaran.
Якщо питання боргів, то що я це говорив, я не знаю, як всього, я чесно не знаю, але якщо піднімається там це питання, так, ми не будемо сприймати борги, як я і казав, це для мене там зрозумілі абсолютно речі, я їх не бачу. Принаймні ми говоримо про минуле.
Nanindigan din si Zelensky na handang makipag-usap ang Ukraine sa sino mang kinatawan ng Russia, wag lamang kay Putin. Ayon sa Ukrainian President, mahalaga na kilalanin ng US ang katotohanan na hindi sapat ang pressure kay Putin na ayon kay Zelensky ay nauunawaan ng EU. NJ de Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Hindi naging maganda ang pagtanggap at tila walang welcoming committee ang pagtanggap ng Greenland kay US Vice President J.D. Vance at sa may bahay nitong si Usha.
Well, the president said we have to have Greenland, and I think that we do have to be more serious about the security of Greenland. We can't just ignore this place. We can't just ignore the president's desires, but most importantly, we can't ignore what I said earlier, which is the Russian and Chinese encroachment in Greenland. We have to do more. Now, what the president said in his State of the Union address, and he was very clear about this, is we respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland, but my argument again to them is I think that you'd be a lot better coming under the United States security umbrella than you have been under Denmark's security umbrella.
Tila naging malamig ang pagtrato ng Greenlanders sa foreign trip na ginawa ni Vance noong nakaraang mga araw kung saan napilitan silang paikliin ang kanilang state visit dahil sa kakulangan ng pagtugon mula sa Greenland at maging sa Danish government. Sa halip na magsagawa ng isang island tour ang politiko ay nauwi lamang ito sa pagbisita sa US Space Force Outpost Pitufik. Hindi rin ikinatuwa ng international community ang pagpostura ni Vance sa kanyang talumpati kung saan nagmatigas ito at iginiit niya ang kagustuhan ng Greenland na ihiwalay ang kanilang bansa sa Denmark at umanib sa Estados Unidos.
What we think is going to happen is that the Greenlanders are going to choose through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people of Greenland from there. So I think that talking about anything too far in the future is way too premature. We do not think that military force is ever going to be necessary. We think this makes sense. And because we think the people of Greenland are rational and good, we think we're going to be able to cut a deal, Donald Trump style, to ensure the security of this territory, but also the United States of America.
Bilang pagpapakita ng kanilang hindi pagsang-ayon sa mga sinabi ng Vice Presidente ay nagsagawa ang kapwa mamamayan ng Denmark at Greenland sa harap ng US Embassy kung saan tila ibinida nila ang Nordic version ng MAGA slogan ni Donald Trump. Sa halip na Make America Great Again ay sinabi nilang Make America Go Away. Sinabi naman ng karamihan ng Greenlanders ang kagustuhan nila ay ang makamit ang tunay na kasarinlan na hiwalay sa pag-aanib ng kahit sinong bansa.
I think it's okay for him to visit his own business. And I'm very happy that he didn't come here to Nuuk. We have family in Denmark and we have been connected to Denmark for many, many years. So I don't hope that US will think that we will be independent and want to work with US. What about the students in Denmark? What about the health problems, medical things?
Sa kaugnay na balita, sa Amerika patuloy na ipinipilit ni Presidenteng Donald Trump ang kanyang kagustuhan na angkinin ang teritoryo ng Greenland.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation. And we're not talking about peace for the United States. We're talking about world peace. We're talking about international security.
Sa kanyang speech sa Oval Office ay sinabi ni President Trump na importante ang kanilang pagkuha ng Greenland para sa seguridad ng Estados Unidos. Dagdag pa nito na importante itong bahagi ng pagpapanatili ng status quo ng international waterways sa harap ng pagkalat ng mga barko ng China at Russia. Hindi naman ito inalis ang posibilidad ng paggamit ng puwersa at economic pressure sa pag-aangkin nito sa bansa, kung saan tila nagsabi pa ito na kailangan ay sumang-ayon ng Denmark at ang kabuuan ng international community sa kanyang kagustuhan na makuha ang bansa.
How far are you prepared to go on Greenland? You said this morning that the United States needs Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security and international security. So I think we'll go as far as we have to go. We need Greenland, and the world needs us to have Greenland, including Denmark. Denmark has to have us have Greenland, and we'll see what happens. But If we don't have Greenland, we can't have great international security. If you look at the ships outside of Greenland, China, Russia, places that we have to be there. If we're not there, we can't have national or international security. So I view it from a security standpoint, we have to be there.
Sa kanyang pagbisita naman sa naturang bansa ay tila pinasaringan pa ni US Vice President J.D. Vance ang pamamalakad ng Denmark sa naturang teritoryo kung saan inakusahan nito ang Denmark na tila hindi pinupundaran ang seguridad ng bansa. Inakusahan din ni Vance ang European Union na tila hindi raw nito tinatapatan ang ginagastos ng para sa lakas militar.
Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is. This place, this base, the surrounding area is less secure than it was 30, 40 years ago because some of our allies haven't kept up. As China and Russia have taken greater and greater interest in Greenland, in this base, in the activities of the brave Americans right here, we know that too often our allies in Europe have not kept pace. They haven't kept pace with military spending, and Denmark has not kept pace in devoting the resources necessary to keep this base, to keep our troops, and in my view, to keep the people of Greenland safe from a lot of very aggressive incursions from Russia, from China, and from other nations. Now, President Trump, as he says all the time, and as a lot of people recognize, is a president of peace.
Sa isang Facebook post naman ay iginiit ng bagong Prime Minister ng Greenland na si Jens Frederik Nielsen na hindi pagmamay-ari ng sinuman ng kanilang bansa at ang mga mamamayan mismo ng Greenland ang magpapasya ukol sa kanilang kinabukasan. Sinabi nito na bukas ang kanyang bansa na makipagdialogo sa mga pinakamalapit nitong kaalyado, ngunit hindi nito ipinagbebenta ang kasarinlan ng kanilang bansa. Susunod, ice storm sa Canada nagdulot ng malawakang blackout.
Nadiskaril na tren sa India, isa patay, 30 sugatan.
At Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala tumaas ang WTA ranking. Detalye ng mga balitang yan at iba pa ring mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Sayawan, kantahan at masarap na kwentuhan. Yan ang araw-araw nating pagsasaluhan. Mag-aagahan tayo sa Barangay Bulihan, Malolos, Bulacan. Gigisingin natin ang mga taga-barangay 183, Zone 20, Pasay City. Sa Miyerkules, balik tayo sa Barangay 739, Zone 80, San Andres, Malate, Manila. Sure na good ang morning ng mga taga-barangay Poblasyon, Muntinlupa City. Yes na yes naman ang Biyernes sa Barangay Pulang Lupa 1, Las Piñas City. Gawin nating daily morning habit ang panonood na LTE Love to the Beth and everything.
Let's live together sa NET25.
At nagbabalik po ang Mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Nawala ng kuryente ang mahigit 300,000 tirahan dahil sa patuloy na pananalasa ng ice storm sa probinsya ng Ontario sa Canada. Nag-issue na ang Environment Canada ng winter storm warning sa Ottawa at ilang parte ng Ontario at Quebec. Kinikilalang sanhi ng pagkawala ng kuryente ang pagbigat ng mga puno dahil sa naiipong tubig, ulan na hanggang mabali at mahulog ang mga puno sa mga power lines. Nagdeklara naman ang syudad ng Orillia ng state of emergency matapos pasira ang mga gusali at naging mapanganib na ang ilang mga kalsada dahil sa nagyayelong ulan. Nanawagan ng Public Safety Canada sa ipagpaliban muna ang non-essential travels hanggang umayos na ang kalagayan ng panahon.
Isang pasahero ng tren ang nasawi matapos madiskaril ang isang tren ng Bangalore-Kamkaya AC Superfast Express malapit sa Nergundi Station sa India. Ayon sa East Coast Railway officials, hindi bababa sa 30 ang nasaktan sa insidente. Nasa 150 mga bumbero ang rumesponde sa site para sumaklolo sa mga apektadong pasahero. Dahil rito, pansamantala namang sinuspinde ang operasyon sa mga istasyon ng tren para sa cleanup efforts. Inimbestigahan na rin ng mga otoridad ang sanhi ng insidente.
Hindi naman ikinatuwa ng Germany ang plano ng Estados Unidos na umatras sa Paris Climate Agreement. Lala na at ang US nila ang pinakamalaking greenhouse gas polluter sa kasaysayan. Leo Velasco para sa balitang yan.
Noong Miyerkules sa Petersburg Climate Conference sa Berlin, sinabi ni German Chancellor Olaf Scholz na pinanghihinayangan nito ang kagustuhan ng US na iwanan na ang Paris Climate Agreement. Ayon kay Scholz, ang pagtanggi at pagsasantabi sa katotohanan ay hindi ikawawala ng climate change.
Deshalb außerordentlich, dass die USA das Abkommen verlassen wollen. Dabei ist eines doch klar. Durch Bestreiten und Ignorieren der Fakten verschwinden weder die Folgen des Klimawandels noch die Verantwortung der USA als historisch größter Emittent von Treibhausgasen.
Dagdag ni Scholz, nananatiling pinakamahalagang issue pansiguridad ang pakikipaglaban sa climate change.
Die Bekämpfung des menschengemachten Klimawandels ist und bleibt auch eines der wichtigsten sicherheitspolitischen Themen überhaupt. Das sagen nicht nur Klimaschützer, sondern auch unsere Nachrichtendienste. Wer Sicherheit denkt, muss Klima mitdenken, heißt es in einer aktuellen Studie von Klimaforschern und dem BND.
Kumakailan nag-anunsyo ang administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump ng sunod-sunod na regulatory rollbacks, kabilang ang pagsasawalang bisa ng emission limits sa power plants at mga sasakyan na itinakda ni dating Pangulong Joe Biden. Binawasan rin ng bagong administrasyon ang proteksyon para sa mga daang tubig. Ang mga anunsyong ito mula sa Environmental Protection Agency ni Trump ay ayon sa mga pangako ng Pangulo na tagpasin ng mga regulasyon upang isulong ang mga industriya tulad ng coal at manufacturing. Dagdag pa riyan ng produksyon ng langis at mga mineral. Subalit kasabay nito ang mga sinasabing pagpapahina ng mga tuntuning pangkapaligiran na inilatag ng mga nakaraang Pangulo na layong protektahan ang kalidad ng hangin at tubig at labanan ng pagbabago ng klima. Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Pagbagsak ng isang mini-plane, iniimbestigahan na ng mga otoridad ng Brooklyn Park, isang US bank executive hinihinalang namatay sa insidente. Si Lawrence Torres para sa detalye.
Pinaniniwala ang pumanaw sa plane crash ang isang US bank executive sa Minnesota Brooklyn Park. Naiulat na bumagsak ang eroplano sa isang bahay kung saan isang individual ang nakatira. Ayon sa korporasyon, nakarehistro ang mini-plane kay Terry Dolan, isang US Bank Vice Chairman at isang Chief Administration Officer. Ayon sa Medical Examiner Office, hindi pa kumpirmado kung nakasakay ba ang executive sa eroplano. Wala ring naiulat na survivors sa insidente, liban na lang sa may-ari ng bahay na nagtamo ng kaunting pinsala. Nagpaabot ng tulong ang Minnesota Governor Tim Walz sa local officials para mas mapadali ang investigasyon ng kaso. Sa isang press conference naman itong Sabado, nagpaabot ng pasasalamat si Brooklyn Park Mayor Hollis Winston sa gobernador. Lawrence Torres para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nangangamba po ang business owners sa Estados Unidos pagdating sa kontrobersyal na mga planong taripa ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Alamin natin ang kanilang saloobin mula sa report ni Rosel Feria.
Sinasabing ang mga taripa ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump ay tila mitya ng tinatawag na global trade war. Nangangamba kapwa ang mga negosyante at mga mamimili na magiging dahilan ito ng pagtaas lalo ng presyo ng lahat ng bagay. Noong Miyerkules, inanunsyo ng Pangulo ang 25% tariff sa imported cars at light trucks na ipatutupad sa darating na linggo. Isang aksyong lalong nagpalawak ng global trade war at ayon sa mga eksperto ng auto industry ay magpapataas ng presyo at pipigil sa produksyon. Ayon kay Drew Greenland, presidente ng Marlin Steel Wire Products, nagbabayad ng karagdagang 100% ang US-based steel manufacturers kumpara sa Germany.
We're paying 100% more than what they are in Germany. I mean, more than 100%. So when we ship 100 baskets to Germany, it's $12,900 in tariffs for pickling baskets. When they ship 100 baskets to us, it's $125, right? So that is over 100% tariff, right? That is wildly unfair to all the workers here.
Samantala, sinabi naman ni Trump noong Biyernes na hindi solusyon ang bumili na ng sasakyan bago ipatupad ang taripa.
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to have a country that's going to boom. I just spoke to Tim Cook of Apple. He's investing $500 billion in the United States, which he would have never, he told me, I would never have done it if you lost the election, and I would have never done it if there wasn't a tariff system that is an incentive for people to come. And remember, there are no tariffs. All you have to do is do your work right here. If you have your company here, if you build your product, make your car, or whatever it is you're making, no tariffs.
Kinumpara rin ni Trump ang intensyon nitong magpataw ng malawakang taripa bilang tugon sa ganti ng Canada. Ito sa kabila ng anyay maayos na pakikipag-usap kay Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Well, absolutely, but we had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, because, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades, And, you know, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries.
Samantala, pinuri naman ni Trump si Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at sinabing may kumpiyansa ito sa isinasagawang tariff talks sa India, isa sa pinakamataas magtaripang bansa sa mundo. Ayon din sa isang business owner, ang mga mungkahing taripa na ito ay banta sa kanilang ikinabubuhay at sa abilidad nitong lumago at lumawak, na anya't nakatutulong sa ekonomiya ng bansa at mga komunidad. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C. para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Umabot na sa Berlin, Germany ang mga pambabatikos laban kay Tesla owner Elon Musk dahil sa mga aksyon nito, kaugnay sa pamamahala o pamahalaan ng Estados Unidos. Narito ang report ni NET25 correspondent Myla Simbulan.
Isang grupo ng demonstrador ang nagtipon-tipon sa showroom ng Tesla sa kabisera ng Germany na Berlin. Doon ibinuhos ng mga ito ang kanilang hindi pagsang-ayon sa bilyonaryong si Elon Musk ng Estados Unidos.
Naja, versucht jetzt mit seinen Milliarden überall Demokratien zu zerstören. Das geht gar nicht. Rechtspopulisten wie die AfD zu unterstützen, das geht gar nicht. Und wir kämpfen als Tesla den Hahn abdrehen, schon seit Jahren, gegen die Fabrik in Grünheide, die uns das Trinkwasser nimmt und tatsächlich das Abwasser, auch unser Trinkwasser mit erhöhten Grenzwerten belasten wird. Nein, da sagen wir ganz klar Nein.
Hawak ng mga demonstrador ang banners na nagsasabing ihinto ang Tesla at ipadala si Musk sa buwan. Ayon sa isang demonstrador na si Ima Al, tutol ito sa epekto ng Tesla Gigafactory sa Grünheide.
Ich wollte gucken, ob Friedrich Merz jetzt auch Tesla-Werbung macht. Also ich finde es echt eine Schweinerei, dass Elon Musk als reichster Mensch der Welt, für was der seine Macht missbraucht und hier in Grünheide einen Wald zerstören lässt, unser Trinkwasser abgräbt Und es ist einfach so eine krasse Ungerechtigkeit, deshalb kann ich nicht anders als hier sein.
Mula nang simulan ang pagtatayo ng Tesla factory doon noong 2019, samot-saring environmental groups na ang tumututol dito. Madalas ang pagpuprotesta laban dito dahil sa paggamit ng factory sa karagdagang tubig na ikalalala pa ng suliranin ng estado ukol sa tubig. Ipinanawagan ng inisyatibong Tesla Takedown ang araw ng protesta laban sa Tesla nitong 29 ng Marso. Ayon sa inisyatibo, katumbas ng protesta ang pagpapahinto kay Musk at sa impluwensya nito laban sa demokrasya. Samantala dito sa Estados Unidos, nagsuputan ang mga protesta laban kay electrical car maker Elon Musk nang apuntihin nito ang Pangulong Donald Trump bilang hepe ng Department of Government Efficiency o DOGE. Sa kasulukuyan, may 100,000 trabaho na sa federal workforce ang sinibak ng DOGE. Pinahinto rin ng department ang US foreign aid at pinakakansela ang libo-libong mga programa at kontrata kaugnay nito. May nasimbulan, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nakumpleto na ng German startup company na Aerospace ang kanilang initial test launch para sa kanilang Spectrum rocket na gagamitin sa mga space missions nito. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, bumagsak at sumabog ang Spectrum rocket ng startup matapos ang 40 segundo mula sa take-off sequence nito. Sa kabila naman ng pagbagsak, nakakalap ang Aerospace na mahahalagang data para magamit nila sa mga susunod na launch missions. Una nang ipinagpaalam ng Aerospace na posibleng magkaaberya ang paglunsad ng rocket. Kabilang sa mga global players sa mga satellite launch market ay ang SpaceX ni Elon Musk at ang Ariane Group naman ng France.
Nagdiriwang ang mga Filipino fans at ang kabuuang tennis community sa breakaway performance ni Filipina phenom Alex Agila sa Miami Open at ngayon ay pasok na rin siya sa top 100 rankings ng Women's Tennis Association. Si Kay Okay para sa balita.
Umakyat na si Pinay tennis star Alex Agila sa ika-75 na pwesto batay sa pinakabagong ranking na inilabas ng Women's Tennis Association o WTA. Maaalalang bago sumabak si Agila sa 2025 Miami Open ay nasa ika-140 pwesto pa siya, ngunit dahil sa impresibong performance ay nagawa niyang laktawan ang kabuuang 65 na player na dating mas mataas sa kanya sa WTA ranking. Nagawa kasi ng teenager ng pataube ng ilang Grand Slam winner na si Yelena Ostapenko ng Latvia na nasa number 25 na rankings, Madison Keys na world number 5 sa round of 32 at ang world number 2 rank na si Iga Świątek ng Poland sa quarterfinals. Dahil dito, lalo pang tumaas ang tsansa ni Agila na magkaroon ng direct entry sa 4 na major tennis tournament sa buong mundo na pangunahing sinasalihan ng mga tennis legend. Kinabibilangan nito ng Australian Open, Roland Garros o French Open, Wimbledon at ng US Open. Sa pag-akyat ng 19 years old sa top 100 ng WTA, napabilang siya sa 8 tennis player sa buong mundo na maituturing bilang isa sa pinakabatang nakapasok dito. Ang kinikilalang pinakabata ay ang world number 7 na si Mira Andreeva ng Russia sa edad na 17 habang sumusunod dito ang world number 81 na si Maya Joint ng Australia na 18 years old. Inaasang sasabak muli ang 19 anyos na tennis star sa mga susunod na international tennis tournament matapos ang impresibong kampanya sa Miami na opisyal na nagtapos nitong nakalipas na linggo. Kay Okay para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Kaguluhan sa laro ng Minnesota Timberwolves laban sa Detroit Pistons nagresulta ng ejections ng ilang manlalaro at pagiging ng coaching staff. Kyle Lara po para sa istorya.
7 manlalaro at miyembro ng coaching staff ang na-eject matapos sumiklab ang away sa laro ng Minnesota Timberwolves laban sa Detroit Pistons. Nangyari ang kaguluhan ng dalawang panig sa gitna ng second quarter nang bumunggo si Nas Reed ng Wolves kay Ron Holland ng Pistons sa kanyang pagsugod sa basket. Inangasan nila ang isa't isa na mabilis na nagpalala ng sitwasyon na sinundan ng sagutan at suntukan. Sa init ng kaguluhan, napaupo sa courtside si Dante DiVincenzo ng Wolves nang siya'y tinulak at hinila ng mga players kasabay ng team officials. Kabilang sa mga na-eject sa laro ay ang Pistons head coach JB Bickerstaff, Marcus Sasser, Isaiah Stewart at ang Minnesota assistant coach Pablo Prigioni. Sa kabila nito, ang young fan na nadamay ay binigyan ng Minnesota team jersey mula kay Alex Rodriguez na dating Major League Baseball star at part owner ng Timberwolves. Kyle Lara para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po. Ako po muli si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A race against time. Survivors in Thailand. Rescue teams are in full force in Thailand and Myanmar, battling against the odds to save lives.
Here in Bangkok, where a desperate race against time is underway, the catastrophic 7.7 magnitude earthquake that struck neighboring Myanmar has left a trail of devastation across the region.
And the news starts now. The scenes unfolding in Bangkok are heartbreaking. A collapsed high-rise trapped workers and families clinging to hope. The earthquake's impact is being felt across the region, with Myanmar facing a catastrophic situation. Crystal Mapa for the details.
Yes, Alma, we're here in Bangkok where a desperate race against time is underway. The catastrophic 7.7 magnitude earthquake that struck neighboring Myanmar has left a trail of devastation across the region, with the city now declared as a disaster-stricken area. One of the most harrowing scenes is the collapse of the 33-story high-rise still under construction. Dozens of workers are believed to be trapped inside. Survivors describe a terrifying moment as concrete and steel crumbled around them.
I was working on ground floor when the earthquake started shaking things. The rest of my colleagues were on the 13 and 14 floors. I felt dizzy immediately, and the girl working next to me said that she also felt dizzy. Then, things were falling down from high floors. We were scared and told each other to run away. The rest of people on the high floors didn't escape and died under debris.
Rescue teams are working tirelessly, deploying search dogs and drones to locate any signs of life amidst the rubble. The challenges are immense, as described by this police K9 unit commander.
In this situation, it's nothing compared to the scenarios we did during training. The area in which we could work on is very limited due to metal debris and sharp edges. It is also hard for us to try and get inside, so we had to try to find ways inside from around the edges, or where the dogs can get into. The structure is also unstable. We don't know if it will topple again. It's hard to tell, so we have to maintain our safety as well.
Families of the missing are clinging to hope, waiting for any news.
I'm here to wait for my mother and younger sister. I saw it in the news that a building collapsed, so I called my sister. But no matter how many times I tried to call her, there was no connection. So I asked her coworker, who said they couldn't reach her, and my mother as well.
The epicenter of this earthquake was in Myanmar, a country already grappling with civil unrest. The devastation there is staggering. Myanmar state television reports a rising death toll.
While we are still conducting the rapid need assessment, we know this is an absolute catastrophe for children and family across Myanmar. Many homes has been destroyed, road and bridge damaged. Many children and family are still missing and traumatized. We need urgent assistance, especially for the children, who often suffer the most in these kinds of situations.
Hospitals are overwhelmed, forcing patients to be treated outside. International aid is pouring in. The United Nations is mobilizing resources across Southeast Asia.
It's early morning and I'm here at the UNICEF Global Supply Hub in Copenhagen, where the team is busy packing and preparing life-saving supplies to send to Myanmar for the children and the families affected by the devastating earthquake. This response is supported by DG ECHO and the European Union, which helps make sure that we're able to get these life-saving supplies on the ground for women and children as soon as possible.
On Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the U.S. would provide assistance.
Yeah, we're going to be helping. We've already alerted the people. Yeah, it's terrible what's happened. It's a real bad one, and we will be helping. We've already spoken with the country.
A Russian rescue team arrived in NET25, the capital of earthquake-hit Myanmar, on Sunday, March 30th, according to the Russian Ministry of Emergencies. The team brought a mobile hospital and will head to hard-hit Mandalay near the epicenter. The Chinese National Rescue Team arrived at Yangon International Airport in Myanmar on Saturday afternoon to assist in disaster relief efforts. The 82-member rescue team sent by the Chinese government brought with them rescue equipment and supplies aboard a chartered Air China flight. Amidst the devastation, there's a glimmer of hope. In Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw, a man was pulled alive from the rubble after being trapped for a grueling 40 hours. Rescue teams from Singapore and Myanmar worked together in this miraculous rescue. As reported by Myanmar's Army-run TV, this is a testament to the tireless efforts of these rescue teams. And here in Bangkok, amidst the chaos, a moment of pure joy. Kantong Swen Mungshin, who came to the Police General Hospital for a routine checkup, went into labor as the tremors began. Surrounded by medical staff, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl nicknamed Mink.
I was unexpectedly admitted and was lying on the bed for a while. I didn't feel any pain at first. The doctor came to check up on me and I said, "No, I'm all right." And then I felt like a strong wind swayed me. I've never experienced anything like this before. That's when I felt like I started to go into labor. But the doctor had started evacuating me down the stairs. I was telling my baby, "Don't come out yet." But the pain kept growing and growing as I was coming down the stairs. Then I was put on a hospital bed and was surrounded by a lot of medical staff where I just gave birth right then and there. It was all a shock to me too. Once my baby is born, the ground stopped shaking. I felt great. I saw my child and the earthquake stopped. I am so impressed and happy by how the hospital took care of me.
Here in Bangkok, the full scale of the destruction is still coming into focus. In Myanmar, the situation is even more dire, with communications down, power outages, and government censorship limiting the flow of information. Rescue efforts continue around the clock, with moments of both tragedy and hope defining the disaster. We'll continue to bring you updates as they become available. Alma?
Bangkok authorities have declared the city a disaster-stricken area. Now, what does this mean for the response efforts now?
Alma, it means emergency teams now have the authority to assess and monitor damage across the city. This declaration will help in coordinating resources and relief efforts.
What is the biggest challenge for the rescuers right now?
The biggest challenge is access. Some of the worst hit areas in Myanmar are extremely hard to reach, and aid workers are struggling to move supplies due to ongoing conflicts in the region.
The UN has now mobilized aid for Southeast Asia. And how soon do you think can we expect relief efforts to reach those in need?
The UN has started coordinating with governments in Thailand, Myanmar, and neighboring countries to get supplies and personnel on the ground as quickly as possible. However, Alma, in Myanmar, aid efforts are more difficult due to political and logistical challenges.
What's the mood now for the relatives and families waiting for news?
Alma, there's a mix of hope and desperation. Families are clinging to the possibilities that their loved ones are still alive, while rescue teams push forward despite dangerous conditions.
Thank you, Crystal. Crystal Mapa reporting from Bangkok, Thailand.
Meanwhile, the Philippine government is offering assistance to Filipinos affected by the devastating earthquake in Myanmar, including repatriation for those who wish to return home. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega, speaking in an interview, said the Philippine Embassy in Yangon expects to receive repatriation requests from some Filipinos who lost their jobs. The embassy is looking into it to address their request. Due to non-operational airports in Myanmar, those seeking repatriation will first be transported to Bangkok, Thailand. The DFA is drawing on past experience, referencing their assistance to Filipinos after the 2023 earthquake in Turkey. The Philippine Embassy in Yangon is actively gathering information to assess the needs of Filipinos on the ground, and this includes welfare checks and determining the resources required for relocation and repatriation. The embassy is also using social media to communicate with Filipinos in Myanmar, stating they are prepared to assist those who require help. The DFA also assures Filipinos affected by the earthquake that the government is ready to provide the necessary support during this difficult time. Amidst the devastation of the powerful earthquake that struck the Myanmar border region, 2 nurses in southwest China are being hailed as heroes. Surveillance video from a maternity center in Ruili City, broadcast by China Central Television, captured the terrifying moment the 7.7 magnitude quake hit. Nurse Xiong Jilan is seen carrying a newborn while kneeling, protecting the baby from the violent shaking. Another nurse bravely tries to secure the other infants in their cots. Miraculously, all the nurses and newborns escaped uninjured. Immediately after the quake, the maternity center staff moved everyone to safety.
We were only focused on the babies, and we just want to protect them because, after all, we have the ability to act, but they don't. So we do our best to protect all of them.
Thankfully, no casualties have been reported in the Chinese areas bordering Myanmar.
A gathering is underway in London where hundreds of Filipinos have come together to voice their concern for President Duterte and to wish him a happy birthday. Take a look.
Hello, Alma. I'm here in Marble Arch in London, where many Filipinos and supporters of arrested former President Rodrigo Duterte have gathered to demand his release and return to Philippines from the ICC custody. The mood is emotional with chants of "Bring him home" echoing through the place.
So this weekend is celebrating the birthday of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Right now, as everyone knows, he's in The Hague and unfortunately he's in detention. A lot of us were unhappy about the way that it was carried out. You know, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning on that Wednesday and saw the pictures of him trying to understand why they were doing what they did. You know, President Duterte invited the ICC to the Philippines and even said, hurry up with the investigation. But he didn't realize they would drag an 8-year-old man with multiple medical conditions to The Hague. And that's the bit that's upset so many of us.
First of all, I wanted to go to Netherlands last
Friday, but I don't have any annual leave left. So I decided to come over here today to join it because I've supported Mayor Duterte since he ran for president 2016. Until then, I'm supporting wherever he wishes.
Dahil po naniniwala po kami in behalf of IPANAW Party List, naniniwala po kami na illegal yung pagka-aresto kay Tatay Digong at kami po ay nakikisimpatya sa kanya dahil sa aming paniniwala. Marami siyang naitulong sa ating bayan.
So again, I know the Duterte family have said themselves that they don't really want people to comment on the ICC and the process. So all we're showing is a message of solidarity. You know, we're thinking about President Duterte at this time. We're thinking about the family, you know, Madam Vice President Sara Duterte, sending our best wishes, sending our love, and telling them that we're praying on a daily basis for the former president, that everything goes well. Again, this is not a protest. This is a gathering of supporters of the former president. We're celebrating the occasion of his 80th birthday. We're not commenting on politics. We're not commenting on the ICC. All I'm saying on a personal basis is there could have been a better way of doing it. I worry that somebody with medical conditions, somebody very elderly, was being dragged to the ICC a couple of days or the day before his 80th birthday, or a few days before his 80th birthday. To me, that sounds really, really sad and, you know, really vindictive. There are people rubbing their hands together. When I see some of the posts on Facebook from those people who are very happy that this has happened to him, you know, there is a process and the ICC should follow that due process. The former president could have been allowed time to spend in Davao, to go through legal challenges, to go through courts in the Philippines. If you go back to when people were saying, you know, the Philippines is a sovereign country, you know, with its own jurisdiction, etc., why not go through the Philippine courts first before being brought to the ICC? Afford former President Duterte that due process. Well, there's an outpouring of love from across the world. You know, there are Filipinos from across the globe. I did a post asking how people would celebrate his birthday. That got more than 50,000 likes. I got thousands of comments from people taking pancit, you know, lumpiang Shanghai, celebrating birthday cakes. These are people who are not being paid. These are Filipinos who spent their hard-earned money, their hard-earned time in order to support the president and show their love for what he's done for Davao, for Mindanao, and for the Philippines.
The global debate over Duterte's legacy continues. We'll keep following this story. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Lavan. U.S. Vice President Vance criticized Denmark for failing to protect Greenland from Russian and Chinese threats, leading to a diplomatic clash. Take a look.
You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance slammed Denmark during a visit to Greenland on Friday, saying it was failing to keep the semi-autonomous Danish territory and its people safe from incursions by China and Russia.
Denmark has not kept pace in devoting the resources necessary to keep this base, to keep our troops, and in my view, to keep the people of Greenland safe from a lot of very aggressive incursions from Russia, from China, and from other nations.
Vance gave no details of the alleged incursions and said there were no immediate plans to expand U.S. military presence on the ground in Greenland. As Vance's visit was underway, President Donald Trump told reporters at the White House the United States needs Greenland to ensure peace of the entire world.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation. And we're not talking about peace for the United States. We're talking about world peace. We're talking about international security.
The vice president's visit on Friday came just after a new broad government coalition was put in place that aims to keep ties with Denmark for now. Greenland's new prime minister said Vance coming to Greenland signaled a lack of respect and called for unity in the face of pressure from outside.
We believe that it is not showing respect for an ally. I think that is a shame. But now we have a government that needs to get to work, and it will start immediately.
A White House official has said Greenland has an ample supply of rare earth minerals that would power the next generation of the U.S. economy. Meanwhile, polls have shown that nearly all Greenlanders oppose being part of the United States.
President Trump has issued a stark warning to Russia, threatening severe economic consequences if Moscow obstructs his efforts to end the war in Ukraine. President Trump said he was pissed off at Russian President Vladimir Putin and will impose secondary tariffs of 25 to 50% on buyers of Russian oil if he feels Moscow is blocking his efforts to end the war in Ukraine. He said, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on oil coming out of Russia. He said that would be that if you buy oil from Russia, you can't do business in the U.S., Trump said. There will be a 25% tariff on all oil, a 25 to 50-point tariff on all oil. Trump later reiterated to reporters he was disappointed with Putin, but added,
I don't think he's going to go back on his word. You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time. We've always gotten along well. I think he'll be okay. But if he isn't, I was disappointed in a certain way. Some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that. But I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them.
There was no immediate reaction from Moscow. Russia has called numerous Western sanctions and restrictions illegal and designed for the West to take economic advantage in its rivalry with Russia. Trump, who spent the weekend at his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, told NBC News he planned to speak with Putin this week. The threat of these tariffs, however, signals a significant escalation in U.S. pressure on Russia. Russian drones struck a military hospital, shopping center, apartment blocks, and other targets in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, late on Saturday, killing 2 people and injuring at least 25. The State Emergency of Ukraine released footage on Saturday showing firefighters putting out fires in destroyed homes and combing through rubble with dogs.
We expect a response, a serious response. We are working to ensure reaction. Strong reaction is needed, especially from America, Europe, and all those in the world who rely on diplomacy. Russia must be forced into peace. Only pressure will work.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wants to back out of a critical minerals deal, warning the Ukrainian leader would face big problems if he did.
I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
To resist Elon Musk's efforts in sharply cutting the United States federal workforce, demonstrators have organized protests outside Tesla dealerships in the U.S. and Europe. Percival Parlare Jr. has that story.
On Saturday, here in Washington, D.C., for a second time in 2 weeks, protesters gathered outside a Tesla dealership in the Georgetown neighborhood. This as part of a nationwide demonstration against the electric vehicle maker's billionaire CEO, Elon Musk. Musk has been appointed chief of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, responsible for cutting more than 100,000 federal jobs across a federal civilian workforce of more than 2 million people. Protesters are seen holding posters bearing the likeness of Musk and U.S. President Donald Trump as they danced and waved to passing motorists. DOGE has also pushed for the freezing of foreign aid and the canceling of thousands of programs and contracts. Meanwhile, a similar protest took place outside a Tesla dealership in Mesa, Arizona. Protesters held banners and chanted slogans saying "Musk must go," Tesla chainsaw massacre, and kick Elon out. They demand that the billionaire step away from policy discussions impacting retirees.
Elon Musk, and he's an absolutely unelected official coming into our government and trying to take away. I am a retired senior citizen that paid into Social Security, and he's calling it a Ponzi scheme. I paid into that my entire work career. He has no business touching that, none whatsoever.
It's very un-American. We have processes and we have a Congress, we have committees, we have ways to root out waste. If there's waste, we can find it. If there's reason to cut government departments, we can cut them. We can do it in a reasoned, careful approach that doesn't affect people's lives. I paid my entire life into Social Security, and I am in fact living on Social Security. If they disrupt my Social Security, it's going to mean immediate and serious problems to me.
In the United Kingdom, Musk protesters demonstrated outside a Tesla dealership in London. Some held signs to traffic reading "Honk if you hate Elon" and "Don't fund fascists." This during a global protest day against Tesla and its chief executive. In Berlin, Germany, protesters call for Musk to be sent to the moon. Gathered outside the Tesla showroom on the outskirts of the capital, protesters voiced their discontent with the billionaire. Their banners read, "Stop Tesla." Protester Sarah Walther from the state of Brandenburg, where the Tesla Gigafactory is located, says Musk trying to destroy democracies is unacceptable.
We
are here because we are trying to actually turn off Musk's tap worldwide so that his shares fall, that he becomes poorer, and that he abandons this impossible right-wing populist and anti-democratic policy.
Another protester, Emma Ali, says Musk abuses his power by destroying a forest in Greenland.
I wanted to see if Friedrich Merz is now also advertising Tesla. So I think it's a real shame that Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, and that he's abusing his power by destroying a forest here in Greenland, eroding our drinking water, and it's just such a blatant injustice. So I couldn't help but be here.
Environmental groups have been critical of the factory in Greenland since it began construction in 2019. Over the years, protesters have been frequent due to concerns that the factory's use of additional water will exacerbate existing groundwater problems in the state. The Tesla Takedown Initiative has called for a worldwide day of protests against Tesla on March 29. The initiative says hurting Tesla is stopping Musk and his influence on harming democracy. In Washington, D.C., Percival Parlade for NET25 World News.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
We are now open for business. It is a signal to the world. We are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Spring has sprung and Washington, D.C. is awash in pink. Estela Dominique takes us to the heart of the cherry blossom frenzy, where nature's beauty meets a historic tradition. Take a look.
Every springtime here in Washington, D.C., these lovely cherry blossom trees draw fans from near and far, especially as their pink flowers reach peak bloom.
In 1912, 3,000 cherry blossom trees were gifted by Japan to the United States to symbolize the friendship between the two countries. Over the years, these trees have been supplemented with more. And did you know that currently there are 3,700 cherry blossom trees along the National Mall? And there are over 18,000 on National Park Service property within Washington, D.C. These buttes can be viewed from several areas around the capital. But many agree that here at the Tidal Basin, where I am at the moment, is the best place to take in the very lovely view.
Taking in the sight of the cherry blossoms, I have to say it's very calming. It's very beautiful, very pleasing to the eye. And I think that this is something that was very much needed after a long week at work. It really just puts your mind at ease and it's very soothing.
Park officials are encouraging spectators to enjoy the blossoms while they are in bloom, which usually lasts for only 14 days. And when they say enjoy, it means just look but never touch them because it's against the law.
Next year, in 2026, in honor of America's 250th birthday, the Japanese Embassy will be gifting the country 250 new trees. In Washington, D.C., Estela Dominique for NET25 World News.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.
This program